This one time in 2012, I had a bad day. There's more. I'd spent that day and many days prior working at a truly soul-crushing job in the commercial industry. To make a very long story short, I spent a lot of time there being called sweetie by all the men in charge and watching women be treated and talked to in ways we like to think don't exist anymore in our modern industry. And so, on one particularly bad Thursday in November, I headed to a bar to meet a friend, angrily texting her all the way on the way there, all the ways everyone at my office was the worst. How they were making my life miserable, to blame for all my problems. And when I got there, she met me with really supportive anger. But when it was my turn to join in, I surprised her and myself and everyone at the bar and started to cry. And she comforted me for quite some time, but on one of her many bathroom breaks, I had one of those really annoying out-of-body experiences people talk about. So I see myself, and I'm in the center, and there's a spotlight on me, and I'm crying, and all the other people are kind of in dim darkness, and then they slowly come to the forefront. I notice them not noticing me. They don't care that I'm crying, and I don't say that to condemn them, quite the opposite. They knew a long time ago what I had just learned, which was that they couldn't help me. They weren't responsible for my problems, and neither were the people I worked with at my job responsible for my unhappiness. Were some of them sexist? Yeah. Did some of them treat women poorly, and had they treated me poorly? Yes. But were they making me go there every day? No. Were they physically stopping me from pursuing other creative endeavors and goals on the hours I wasn't at the office? No. And at the end of the day, were they the ones putting endless food in my mouth to cope with my problems the way I learned to way back in the day? No. See, what I forgot to mention is I had also spent the better part of that past year getting to over 300 pounds for the second time in my life and getting unhealthier and unhealthier. I was on daily medications to manage my asthma and could barely get up a flight of stairs without getting winded. And so for this and many other reasons at this time, I felt completely out of control of my own narrative and my own journey. And I was at this bar crying because I realized it was no one's fault but mine. It's a good thing to realize. It's just kind of a bummer that I realized it during happy hour at a bar on St. Mark's on a Thursday, but what are you going to do, you know? So what I did was that thing that never works. I made a New Year's resolution. Over the course of the next 2 weeks, I called a therapist, I quit my job, I joined the cheapest gym I could find, and I filed paperwork with my best friend and business partner to form our LLC, NextRound Productions. Something we have been talking about for a long time. I made a resolution to change the things in my life that were making me unhappy. Not just my job, but my lack of creativity and freedom. Not just a number on a scale, but my internal mean monologue and negative outlook on the world around me. It was a resolution to not just write more, but to write more openly and honestly. To not ask my friends to solve my problems, but to be more present for them in theirs. And over the course of the next year, my life got creative in every aspect, from making money to picking up a guitar. I started dancing all the time. I went to the gym in January with the resolution rush, and again in March when it was empty. I went on days I didn't want to, on days I was scared to, on days when I was the biggest person in the room, which was most days, and often still is. I started to care what my body did with the food I put into it. I lost over 100 pounds and got off all the medications. I got really strong and healthy. And every day in a journal, I wrote one thing that made me happy that day, especially on days when I was unhappy. And my outlook began to change. Simultaneously, my business partner and I built the foundations for NextRound that year. And we made no money, but we were welcomed by other women, other business owners, other entrepreneurs, the most incredible women taking their own journeys, taking the bull by the horns and creating the future they wanted by following their passions. And they welcomed us into this world we had no idea existed. I noticed a lot of changes that year, not just the ones I made, but in the world around me. I noticed my friends getting healthier, not because I asked them to. I noticed the gifts I got for my birthday changed. Instead of chocolate, I got cookbooks. Instead of being asked to go to bars, I got asked to go on hikes. And I noticed the dialogue between my friends and I changing. A lot less talk about other people, other people's looks and lives, and a lot more talk about our ideas and goals. The women in my life, new and old, got a lot more real about their journeys, about their insecurities. And I realized in talking to these women that I was not unique in my problems, that oftentimes even the most amazing women, like really badass entrepreneurs, incredible women, are struggling or have struggled deeply with their bodies and with being seen and with pursuing their goals. And I realized I had felt really unnecessarily alone with my problems for so long. And I felt the most alone with my problems when I was your age, in high school. When I was in high school, I was angry and cynical. I wanted to fade into the background, and the kids at school let me know that that wasn't happening, as I was a very noticeable 350 pounds, and they made it clear. I was also really quiet. When a teacher would ask a question in class, I would be so scared to raise my hand that I'd spend minutes working up the courage in my mind, and by the time I was ready, the discussion had passed. I spent a lot of time praying to be invisible. And so as I prepared for this talk on a very not invisible stage, I thought about what I would say to that girl, me, in high school, praying to be invisible. And since I'm past that, I'll say it to you guys now. First and foremost, your weight does not define you. A number on a scale is a non-issue, and your health is the most important thing. I've lost a lot of weight. I've been thinner than I am now and bigger than I am now, and I can say from far too much experience that chasing a perfect number on a scale or the best after picture is not the key to happiness, and it's not going to be enough when you get there. I want to beg you to be kind to yourself, to stop that internal mean monologue, to stop comparing yourself to other people, other girls, more specifically, other girls, boyfriends and bodies and brains. When you get asked to do things that scare you, that you feel underqualified for, like maybe getting up on a stage and talking about all your deepest insecurities in front of a room full of high school students, try to do those things. As cliche as it is, doing the things that scare you is really how you grow. And when you feel underqualified, please try to remember that you don't have to measure yourself by anyone else's definition of success. It's so easy to be angry and cynical, but so much more fun not to be. This one random Thursday in November was the catalyst for me to make a life change that rocked my world and rippled outward further than I could have ever imagined. My story is proof that you have the power to craft your own narrative and to make the future you want, because when you choose to change your world, you do in fact have the capacity to change the world. Thank you.